On July 19th, former President Donald Trump issued a speech at the RNC where he accused Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele of solving its country's crime problems by exporting El Salvador's criminals to the United States.
So El Salvador is an interesting one because I know the president. He's a young guy, and he's been getting this great press that his crime rate's way down. So in El Salvador, murders are down 70%. It's dumping them in the United States. And their crime rate, their murder rate is down 72%, 73%, and going up. They're also emptying their jails. The big thing is their jails. Those jails were packed. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, isn't this wonderful? They're doing such a wonderful job. They're dumping their criminals into the United States of America, and we're not going to take it anymore.
And this, of course, is an entirely unfounded claim for which he's provided no evidence for, and not unlike a previous claim where he stated that unnamed leaders of unnamed South American countries were emptying their insane asylums and sending the patients to the United States. An entirely unfounded claim whose entire purpose is to fearmonger against undocumented immigrants and asylum seekers coming to the United States in search of the American dream. The thing is that these claims being made by an American presidential candidate against El Salvador are pretty ironic. Because you see, while Donald Trump makes unfounded claims that El Salvador is exporting its criminals to the United States, it is actually the United States that had previously exported its criminals to El Salvador. I'm of course referring to MS-13, a street gang founded in Los Angeles, California in the 1980s by predominantly Salvadorian immigrants who were seeking to protect themselves from other more established street gangs. Many of these migrants, of course, had fled from El Salvador during the Salvadorian Civil War, of which, of course, the United States had a part in, as it founded and helped to train the forces of the oppressive military government of El Salvador at the time. After the Salvadorian Civil War in the early 1990s, the U.S. began deporting many Salvadorian migrants, particularly those who had criminal records or were involved in gang activities. In 1996, the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act further expanded the list of deportable offenses while simultaneously reducing the ability of migrants to fight their deportation cases. This ultimately resulted in the deportation of many MS-13 members back to their war-torn home country of El Salvador. Of course, in such a volatile environment as a war-torn country, they were able to easily recruit and expand their operations much through El Salvador, all the way through Central America into Mexico, and of course later on, well into the United States. And this policy, which greatly helped expand MS-13, was influenced by a rising public concern over gang violence in the country and a desire by the United States government to curb gang activity within the United States. And of course, instead of addressing the socioeconomic conditions that drive people to crime or drive people to join gangs in the first place, the United States decided to simply export their criminals to a war-torn country. Which is why it's ironic when American politicians will say that, for instance, El Salvador in this case is exporting its criminals here when that's what the United States actually did to them. If you didn't know, now you know.